Rhodes Media.
Say what you want about the lack of drafting throughout some of these seasons and the poor execution. There is something that Howie Roseman does very well. Multiple things, may I add. One of those is trades. He can pull them off. Sam Bradford, getting rid of Carson Wentz, he can do it. There's a psychological effect here, too, that we can't pretend isn't a part of this. Now, once again, let's be clear. That's more if the hypothetical is brought up and somehow, some way, there is a Russell Wilson tie or somebody else. There is a tie to the quarterback possible trade or possible pickup in the offseason. Deep down, I think they are going to move forward with Hurts. Deep down, I think that is the trajectory they want to go down. Because they talked about this still being a rebuild, this still being a situation where you're shifting and gearing into a new direction as an overall roster to get back to where we want to be. So it's obvious there's flaws here, and there's a good way of fixing those flaws while utilizing Jalen Hurts and utilizing those assets to pick up those pieces to plug in where you need them to be. Now, with that said, and I know we're kind of bouncing around here with it, but Howie also brought up the fact that he'd be willing to trade back into next season and next offseason and kind of do what they did this year where they compiled a bunch of picks. Now, it might not necessarily be 3 picks because they're still going to utilize some of these available options to get young talent to help out this team. But if they can set themselves up for multiple first-round picks next year as well, maybe trade one of these out. Let's do it. And I like that too. See, I like a lot of their options, and their options make sense. I can get behind every direction they go by or go down. I guess at this point, though, it's execution because they're set up for many different paths. 1, keep Jalen Hurts, build around him. 2, go get yourself a stud quarterback, veteran quarterback with your assets. 3, trade back and do a combination of both. Set yourself up nicely for next draft in case Jalen Hurts isn't the guy. And then you have acquired some potential damage to trade up and land one of these quarterbacks in next year's draft class coming out of college football because there hasn't been too much hype generated towards some of the players available this year. They're nice. People say some nice things about them, but not like we've seen in other years. So if you rock with Hurts, find out there's not enough growth for our liking, and you trade back some of your picks this year into next year, you have the firepower to go land your guy. And don't just pick a player this year because, any player's better than Jalen Hurts. I can't stand Hurts. He's not a quarterback. We got to get someone better, so just go pick somebody. That's foolish. And I've actually heard that reaction. So all around, I feel that it does seem like there's a good tone. It does seem like there's a good message being delivered. And look, Nick Sirianni early on had a putrid message his first press conference. Now here we are, and we're excited about the future of what Nick Sirianni can be. So my point is, just because it sounds a certain way, it doesn't mean that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Because execution matters. And Nick Sirianni executed a good enough game plan this year while there were flaws, and we can nitpick how long it took to get to a certain area of our liking. But then I can make the argument that all offseason long, you build a certain offense to pretend like it doesn't matter after 2 weeks and you're going to scrap the entire thing and not give it a fighter's chance to actually succeed is also silly and also goofy, but you got to find your balance. And he probably waited too long on it and held too true to what he wanted to try and run before establishing, hey, maybe there's a better way to utilize this offense and maximize our players' best skill sets and maximize this roster strengths, which is the offensive line and their ability to plow through defensive linemen the way that they do. But Nick Sirianni, the execution throughout the season got better and better and better and better. He ended up getting out-coached by a veteran staff, but that's besides the point. execution mattered throughout the season. He did enough to intrigue us. So I like the message right now by Howie and by Nick Sirianni, but it's about the execution to this point. This is coming from Marty. I won't believe one word Howie says. He has lied so many times before. I don't want to hear about Jalen being the quarterback when you know he is obsessed with Russell Wilson. He is. He is. The reason why they even drafted Jalen Hurts is because they were afraid of missing out like they did in years past when missing Russell Wilson. So no doubt about it. But for me, I do want to hear this. I do want to hear this. I'm opposite from you, Marty, who says, I don't want to hear this. I do. I think that there's a very interesting mind game that's happening. Not so much with Hurts, because I want to make sure that this is very clear. I do believe deep down, the highest probability is what they're laying out. But just in case it doesn't happen, they have set themselves up beautifully for plan B and option B and for them to have power within those negotiations. It's sort of like where they're at now with all these draft picks. I hate the fact that they put themselves in a position where Doug was fired, Carson was moved, right? This whole debacle after winning a Super Bowl where we thought that there would be an area of some serious pushes in the postseason year in and year out. But what they did after that debacle, which they started internally, but they set themselves up for success by landing these draft picks, by trading with Miami, by getting creative with some trades. So while you start the fire, you put out the fire, the alternative is you start the fire and the fire continues to go on forever and starts burning down trees and there's a wildfire that you can't stop. So the fact that they did fix it, I have to give them credit. They set themselves up nicely, and that's what they're doing right now if they don't keep Jalen Hurts as number one, which is probably, keeping him is probably what's real and what will happen. They have their back covered. And I think that there's value in that when you study how this league works. It's a smart way of handling business.